Hello, welcome. In today's video we're going to be looking at the brand new Thypoch Simera 28mm f1.4 lens for Leica M-mount. I'll take a trip into London for some street photography and we're going to compare the lens to the brand new Voigtlander Nokton 28 1.5, the existing Ultron version 2 and the Leica Q. Hi guys, Matt here from MrLeica.com. Okay, let's first give you some more information about the lens. So if you see my previous videos, I also own the new Thypoch 35 1.4. So here's both lenses side by side. On the left, you've got the 28. On the right, you've got the 35. The 28 is larger, but it's also got a silver nose, where the 35's got a black nose. Both lenses have a focus lock and the vintage style focus tab. Both lenses have the same rear mount and so look identical from the back. Thypoch Simera lenses have 14 aperture blades and you can declick your aperture using this button on the side. The clicks are just so satisfying, and here it is, declicked. Close focus distance 0.4 meters. Okay, now let's look at some sample photos. So to test this lens I headed into London for the day to do some London street photography with my Leica M10. I was going to take film and digital, but instead I took the M10 for my digital setup and a second digital camera as my second setup. You'll see that as we get into the video. So these photos were as I jumped straight off the train, and those are raw. Most of the black and white photos you're going to see in this video are edited with my black and white Mr. Leica new presets for the M10, just to give you an idea of how the photos would look as like a finished image, because obviously raw files, they're not a finished image as they come out of the camera. So first impressions, really like this lens. I think it looks visually sharper than the 35. It is slightly bigger, but you don't really notice. I did have the hood on, where I tend to not use the hood, so normally it'd be even smaller. But you can see from that clip that there is a bit of viewfinder blockage bottom right hand corner. I kind of made my way towards the Millennium Bridge and then just kind of shot anything that caught my eye as I went. It was a grey day, so my plan was to maybe try and find some shadows so I could get some directional light, and so I thought maybe I could go to the Tate Modern gallery, because inside you'll have lots of shadows and then it would really suit both the wide lens and a fast lens such as the Thypoch Simera 28 1.4. So that was my plan. I headed to the Tate's gallery and yeah, I highly recommend it if you've never been. I think this is only my second time and I'm definitely going to go again and take a film camera next time. All of these photos are shot wide open at 1.4 and the lens is usually shot wide open. You can see I was shooting at 60th of a second ISO 1600 because it was pretty dark, as you can see from some of these photos. I was basically shooting for the light, I guess, as we all do as photographers, so I was kind of walking around looking for pools of light and then trying to find interesting scenes with both people and light in the frame. Just want to stop the photos for today's sponsor, my awesome patrons. If you want to see over 400 posts, including 100 plus model behind the scenes videos, click the link below. Okay, back to the photos. Here you can see the detail captured even with the lens shot wide open at 1.4. This lens is going to be excellent for anybody that shoots in low light, and it's definitely suitable wide open at 1.4. For any of you that don't follow my MrLeica.com blog, link below, you can join me for a Mr. Leica photo walk and model workshop, both at the end of February and at the end of March. For full details, click the blog link below and you'll see the dates in the latest newsletter. Hope to see you there. So these photos, again, shot with the lens wide open, and I think the theme for the day was stairs and steps. I ended up shooting a lot of steps. It was quite flat light for some of it, but then in other parts I was using the available light and just trying to frame people up around the structures of the Tate Modern Gallery. Such a nice place for photography, as well as obviously the art and exhibitions which are on show there. Highly recommended. After that, it's back outside for some more photos and to test the lens and do some more geeky testing. So coming up, I'm going to see how the lens compares to other popular options if you're looking for a fast 28mm-ish lens for Leica. I headed down to the beach as the tide was out to do my geeky testing, and then it was back into the city to get my train home and took a few more photos along the way. First impressions, this lens is excellent. I love the clicky tactile feel, but how are the results? Let's see the performance of this lens. Colours. If we compare the look of this lens to say a Voigtlander Nokton 28 1.5, the colours are warmer, whereas the Nokton is cooler. I actually like the warm look, and these are results out of camera without any editing, but just be aware it is slightly warmer. In terms of bokeh, this is the bokeh you can get shooting the lens wide open. Because you can focus to 0.4 meters, you can get a really nice subject background separation. The background is buttery smooth when shot wide open and up close with your subject as seen in these photos. Bokeh's circular in the center and cat-eye at the edges as seen with many lenses. Distortion, it does have slight distortion but nothing terrible, and lens flare. I really struggled to get the lens to flare. There's a few little marks on the photos but hardly anything. Sun stars, maybe I failed but I couldn't get any sun stars. Let me know in the comments. Vignetting, this lens does vignette wide open as with all fast lenses. Here it is next to the Nokton, and the Nokton vignettes more than the Thypoch. Okay, the big one, lens sharpness. So I did an infinity test first when shooting in London. Here you can see photos shot wide open and then stopping down. And then here the photos against the Voigtlander, both Nokton and Ultron. If we look at the corners, the Nokton is sharper at 1.5, f2 and f2.8, but not by much. For center sharpness, the lenses are similar, but I think the Voigtlander's got a very slight edge, both at 1.5 and at f2. Okay, next I need to do a close-up test for sharpness. So here's crops shooting the lenses wide open at their close focus distance. The Thypoch goes to 0.4 meters, the Voigtlander goes to 0.5 meters. Again, they're both similar, but I think the Voigtlander's got the edge, and I think the Ultron has also got the edge compared to the Thypoch. Okay, I wasn't 100% certain, so I did another test the next day. The Ultron and the Nokton are definitely sharper than the Thypoch. Okay, so what are the alternatives to the Thypoch 28 1.4? First option is the Nokton 28 1.5 as mentioned. I like the matte black finish, which matches my M10 of the Voigtlander, but I like the clickiness of the Thypoch. Here you can hear the clicks again. So satisfying. You can also get the smaller Ultron, which is an f2 lens. That lens is very sharp, great performer. Or you could look at the 7R10's 28 1.4. See that video linked at the end. Now the question is, can the Thypoch lens replace your Leica Q, Q2 or Q3? Setup wise, both cameras are very similar in size, but the Leica Q series are obviously lighter and give you autofocus. The Q goes to 0.3 meters instead of 0.4 and has a macro option. And of course it gives you autofocus and all the other benefits that Q series cameras give you. That being said, how do the images compare from these two setups? Because if you're like me, I actually prefer a manual setup of an M camera and manual focus lenses. If you really don't like heavy vignetting, you're definitely going to prefer the Leica Q series cameras over these other fast M-mount lenses. But what about performance? So here the lenses side by side, and if we crop in, the Leica Q has got less glow and is sharper, so better performing. But at kind of more realistic distances, I think both lenses are pretty similar. I actually prefer the colours out of camera from the M camera. All these photos are raw. And I actually prefer the vignetting. I think that focuses more your eye on the scene. The Leica Q is sharper in the corners too, as you can see from this crop. Okay, so what is the verdict? If you love the idea of a Leica Q but want to use an M camera and a more manual tactile experience, highly recommend the Thypoch 28 1.4. I love the build quality of the 28mm Thypoch lens. I like the soft stop at 0.7 meters for us film users, and the lens is sharp enough to be used wide open. I think even though it's bigger, it probably would be my choice because it's the best value of the two fast 28mm lenses, and I prefer it to my Q because I prefer manual focusing.